guys, so I'm very excited to film this video for you. This is going to be my New Year's Eve look. It is a couple days before New Year's as I am filming this, so hopefully it will be up in time for you to enjoy on New Year's Eve potentially. And of course, if you have any of these products in your collection, maybe you'll break them out and play with them. Honestly, my husband and I are probably just going to stay in on New Year's given everything that's going on, so it'll be our tradition of watching the fireworks on TV and drinking champagne. So I was inspired to do this kind of 1920s Gatsby look by some of the makeup collections that have launched in the last few months to a year, I guess. So I think what might have inspired this look was the fact that Viseart released their Petit Four collection for this holiday, and this whole collection was inspired by 1920s Paris and the US and the jazz, era and all that. So the bullion little Petit Four that they released is obviously black and gold themed, and it had these 4 shadows in it. And when I saw that, I remember that ColourPop had released another 1920s collection this year that they called the Roaring Hearts collection. And this is a larger palette, obviously, but there was definitely a gold and a black shade in this palette. So I was kind of thinking about that. And then they also released a couple Super Shock shadow duos. So in one of them you had Deco Days, which is this shade, and Avant Garde, which is this one. So a more true gold and a more kind of pink champagne color. And in the other one, you had a black Super Shock and then also another kind of neutrally champagne type color. So it's kind of looking at these collections, thinking about them and all that. And then a shadow duo that I had wanted that actually released over the summer, but it's Tom Ford, so it was very pricey. This I think is originally $65 and it went on sale for basically half off. And I think you can still get this for half off on the Tom Ford website if you are interested. So I'd never tried one of these before, but as you may know, it has kind of a cream base, and then in the lid here there's a sparkly shadow topper. So I decided to get this at half off, and I kind of just wanted to play around with some of these similar color stories. The ColourPop and the Viseart kind of had a similar theme as well. This was the shade Black Sand, so this was like a beachy type collection or whatever. So I have a top-down portion of this video that I'll show you in a minute that has some of the comparison swatches, both of the shadows that I used in today's look, which are the Tom Ford, and 2 of these ColourPop Super Shocks. They're one from each of those kits. But then I also compare the Viseart shadows to the ColourPop Roaring Hearts collection, so you can kind of see them side by side. So before we get into that, I will quickly give you a close-up look at the eyes, and I'll let you guess down below which eye you think is which. One is the Tom Ford and one is the ColourPop. So I'll show the demo of that after the swatches, but I just thought I would give you a look before you have any clues or anything like that. But yeah, I just thought this would be a fun video to do, fun for me to play around with, and like I said, you may be able to get the Tom Ford at a pretty good discount. Like I said, I think the Tom Ford was $32 last time I checked. ColourPop is currently having a sale, so I think you can get both of these for $15, so still half off basically. And as far as Viseart goes, I think these are $25, and I think this palette was half that. So like I said, there's always different sales and deals going on, but to put it roughly, I think ColourPop is about half the price of either the Viseart or the Tom Ford equivalent. So yeah, so I think that's all we have to cover, and without further ado, I'll get into these swatches. Okay, so let's take a look at the various options we have here. So this is the Roaring Hearts palette, and then we also have from ColourPop 2 of their Super Shock shadow duos. So we'll compare those. And then we have the Viseart Petite for Bullion Quad. And then finally we have the Tom Ford Soleil Cream and Powder Eye Color. So obviously we have some different formulas to try out here. I guess I'll start kind of low to high. So this is the Roaring Hearts palette, like I mentioned, from ColourPop. And for this palette, I think I'm going to swatch that Nightlife shade and the Grande Dame, which looks like it might have gotten a little bit over the rest of the palette there, but that's okay. So that's what we're looking at for that palette. And then for the Super Shocks, this duo has Gin Rookie and Golden Age. So that's obviously the black. This is the Oh That Jazz duo. And then in this one, it's Deco Days and Avant Garde. So I think out of these three, take another good look at them. This is more of an antique gold. That one's a little bit more champagne, and this one is a little bit more blush. So while I like these, I think this gold is going to be closest. That's the shade Avant Garde. I do want to use the Gin Rookie shade. I'll just swatch it for you because the Gin Rookie is the official cocktail of DC, but I don't think that quite fits as well with what we're doing here. I'll just quickly swatch this one as well. This one is Deco Days. And this one is Avant Garde. Okay, so since I already have one of these open, I'll go ahead and swatch these on my arm. This one you can see was a little bit kind of shattered in the pan. But with this formula, it is pretty forgiving in that way. So you can see that has a really nice shimmer through it. This one I think does maybe have a gold reflect already in it. So this is an unprimed arm. So those are the two from ColourPop in their Super Shock formula. And this one, the shade Nightlife and Grande Dame. Obviously this is just a matte black, so that's a much flatter kind of effect with these shades. So I think this would combine very well. You know, you could kind of play with the depths and the textures and everything. Okay, so let's take a look at this Viseart little palette here. So this one, I guess I can swatch these three lighter metallics. There's, again, a more true gold and then a bronze and kind of a more champagne. Has a really beautiful texture to it. Kind of curious, actually, going back into these ColourPop. So I think and I didn't really plan for this very well, just do it this way. I think the Viseart is much more of a yellow gold versus that one is almost more similar to this color from the Viseart palette, kind of more of a bronze tone. And I think there's a lot more similarity between those two ColourPop shades. They both look more like these So those are the ColourPop Super Shock versus the Viseart. And I don't think with this palette that there are any like clear similarities between the other ones. Like that is a pretty rosy shade. That's a much darker bronze, and then this one is a fairly light shade. Okay, so let's swatch these next to the others. So this is the gold and the black. I'd say the Viseart matte has maybe a tiny bit more of a sheen to it. I mean, they're both mattes. And like I said, that is a little bit more of a true gold versus some of these other ColourPop shades. Okay, and then let's take a look at this Tom Ford little duo here. So this is kind of an interesting formula comparison because this has that kind of gel on the bottom and then the powder on the top. So those are the Tom Ford, and it almost feels like I'm, I don't know, putting my finger into chocolate ganache or something. And these are meant to be layered over each other, so. So I'll go ahead and demo that for you. This is my first kind of foray into this Tom Ford type product. So the sparkle in this ColourPop is more silver than the effect you get with that Tom Ford. Okay, so I'm just going to tap some of that gold. So at least how I did it there, the ColourPop appears to be much lighter. I think, let's see, I think if I build up this black shade a little bit more, I think that's pretty similar. I don't think they're quite the same, but I think I might compare those on the eyes to see how we do. I think the Tom Ford base just appears to be a bit darker. Okay, so I think this was a fun little swatching experiment. So I definitely want to try both the Super Shocks and the Tom Ford compared against one another on the lids. And then the ColourPop Roaring Hearts palette, I think, would probably create a very similar look to this Viseart palette, at least using those two shades. So with the Tom Ford, this was a limited edition product. I got it for half off on sale during Black Friday, so you may still be able to find this, but I guess if you wanted to replicate this look with some more recent limited edition products from ColourPop, I think you could probably do that, and we'll definitely experiment with that. Yeah, I'll just give you one more look at those. And then I think we'll be going into the demo next. And just to quickly show you me trying to remove, I think that's the Tom Ford right there, and then we have some maybe ColourPop swatches up here. So I'm probably not going to scrub too much. I'll just, you know, let it wear off naturally, I guess. But I would definitely, I think, recommend wearing a primer if just to protect your lids, not necessarily for any creasing concerns. All right, let's get started. So I'm going to start by priming both eyes with the Fenty Eye Primer. I'm not sure if this is necessary with these types of formulas, but primer usually doesn't hurt. Okay, so as you can tell, I don't have a base on, so I'm going to do the eyes first and then finish off the base off camera. So I'm going to use the Tom Ford on my right eye. I'm very curious about this. So just get a little bit, it's a little moussey, so it's picking up a little bit more on my finger. And let's go ahead and dive right in. So I'm just gonna kind of pat some just get the general kind of shape. And then I'll use this Rare Beauty, this might actually be a concealer brush. And I think I probably will take some along the lower lash line. So I think I like the look of this more where it's like kind of opaque on the mobile lid. Don't know if trying to blend it with a brush was maybe the best idea, but oh well. And then using my finger, I'm gonna just try and tap this gold shade. It has a very thin texture. Definitely feel like this is kind of like that kind of sooty old Hollywood type look. Okay, so I know it looks a bit strange now, but I think by the time I apply liner and mascara and everything, I'm just gonna clean up that outer edge a little bit. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this little gel eyeliner from Ardency Inn. I don't know if they still are kind of around. I think more than anything, I just wanna make sure that I don't have any kind of gap between my lashes and that black shadow. Okay, so let's just leave it there for a minute, and I'm going to go in to the ColourPop side. So obviously this is one of their Super Shock formulas, and I think I'll start off by applying some with the finger and kind of see where that gets me. Has a really beautiful look to it just by itself. Okay, so I'm gonna take that same brush I used before and just wipe off any kind of excess that's still on the brush. And then I'm just gonna tap into there a little bit. Okay, so I don't think that's working that well with that formula. Let's try kind of a shader brush. I think this is a much better brush for that. Generally the type of Super Shock shadows I use are like topper shades. So usually I'm just kind of patting them on. I think that does blend out. You just have to work with it a little bit. I mean, you can kind of see the difference in eye shape between this one and this one. So I think if I were just using the same products on each eye, I would be happy with where the ColourPop is. But because I'm trying to basically create the same look, I'm going to take some of the black shadow from the Roaring Hearts palette, as I swatched that for you. And I'm going to start with the Sonia G Mini Booster. I just feel like I need a little bit more depth up here. And of course this is not as similar in tone. I'm just gonna take basically a clean blending brush and just try to soften that a little bit. Okay, I think that looks a little bit more even on both sides. Of course, you know, my eyes are not identical. Okay, so let's go in with that gold Super Shock. Again, this one is in Avant-Garde. Okay, so that has kind of bigger reflect. So I think it's up to you which one you actually prefer. I'm gonna go over it again with the black just to kind of create a little bit more of that kind of gold peeking through that I think you get with the Tom Ford. Okay, I think those are closer. I think you get a little bit of more sparkle with the ColourPop, which again, I don't hate. But I think they're pretty similar. I'll try tapping on a little bit more powder from the Tom Ford just to see if we can build that up a little bit. Like I said, it just has a much kind of smoother little texture to it. Okay. All right, and of course, doing the same liner. Okay, so that is it for this stage of the makeup. So I'll pop off camera and finish off the rest of the face, and then I'll be back to kind of do some work underneath the eyelids and to show you the finished look. All right, we're back. So as you can see, I have most of the rest of my makeup on. So I'm going to go back into that Tom Ford shade with the rougher number 3 brush. see how well this does underneath the lash line. So, like I said, it's kind of a moussey texture. So I did apply mascara and tightline my upper lashes. I think just that amount of definition is really nice. Okay, so I think that's where I'm going to leave that. I don't think I have another rougher number 3 brush. So again, I'll just kind of wipe off any excess product and then go into this ColourPop shadow. Again, to see how this does. Okay, I think that also did pretty well. Like on the lower lashes, I'm just looking for a bit of subtle definition, so it's okay if it's not super opaque. And obviously you could just apply your eyeliner as well. So speaking of eyeliner, I think I'm going to put some on my waterline. So I'll quickly apply that off camera and then use the Clinique bottom lash as well on the lower lashes. Okay, so that is it for the finished eye look, and I think these are pretty similar if you ask me. Like, I think there were some differences in formulation and application, obviously, but if you didn't know that they were different eye products, would you be able to tell? Okay, so I'm just going to apply the finishing touches like the lipstick, and then I'll be back to wrap up. Okay, so I think that's gonna do it for this New Year's Eve, faux New Year's Eve look. I hope this reads as kind of a more, I guess, modern interpretation of like a 1920s type look. This hair clip, by the way, is part of the Kristen S accessories line at Target, and I think I might need to put a bobby pin or something because I think it's just not staying very well in my hair. It's just one of those, like, you know, old school barrette types. But anyway, if you really wanted to go all out with the flapper look, I got this like plain elastic headband that I was going to, here, I'll demo it for you. So you could do that if you really wanted to lean in, if you were having like a flapper themed New Year's. But if you just wanted something kind of festive and dramatic, I think this fits the bill. So yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed this look, playing around with some high-low items that are dupes of each other. I hope that whatever you decide to do for this New Year's, that you are all staying very safe and healthy. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. For old lang syne